Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding and rocking 90 minutes for you. We're tackling two massive sized topics, one of which is a ginormous opinion piece that both Kay Asanta and I were having an incredible discussion this morning, and I almost wanted to I said to him live, I was like, we had such great points, and we're both, and by the way, we're on opposite sides here. We do not we disagree on this. We do not agree on this. I was like, you know what, man, I'm sorry that we're not broadcasting it. I think you had made mention, Kay Asante, we should call it the Xbox Morning Drive, and it's just me, you, and everyone just talking.
That's right. That's right.
About Xbox, it would have been so cool.
How many great podcasts have we missed? Have we not had?
Oh, dude, a dozen, 10 dozen. I don't know. We've had some pretty good conversations, but yes, the Xbox Morning Drive. You should patent that before someone steals it. Sorry. Oh man, but listen, folks. Yeah, we're gonna get into that, and of course, the Tokyo Game Show, folks, is a couple of months away. Obviously, the big show before that is Gamescom, which, of course, Kay Asante was going to be at, by the way, which is awesome. Boots on the ground, Kay Asante, we start calling him. But interestingly enough, Jess Corden, had put out a tweet. Now, I don't know if he wrote the article. He might have. I have the article. I'm going to read verbatim. Well, first of all, it's expected to be the biggest Tokyo Game Show in years. Like, everyone is going to be going, and it's supposed to be like a ginormous show. But more specifically, talking about Xbox. Well, Xbox is going to be there in a big way. They're bringing a lot of their first-party games, and the rumor, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's going to be something else. The question is, what is that something else? We'll get to all of that in a second. But Hargi Chani, how you feeling? Good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, brother. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I get the more drama as usual. Always something. Always something.
Yeah,
Is Xbox dead again? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's funny you say that. I said that. I think I was talking to Umbra and Jamie Moran. I said, if you put Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Bubba from Chainsaw Massacre together, they don't even compare to how many times Xbox has been dead, and they've all been dead 10 times each. It's crazy. Oh, Freddy Krueger too. Freddy Krueger. Let me make the list even more stout. It's ridiculous. Well, listen, Hargeet, we're happy to have you here, brother. I cannot wait to get your opinion on the two topics that we're going to be covering, and obviously, it's a pretty beefy one to open up, and that is what's been going on with Xbox. There's been a lot of drama, ladies and gentlemen. Some that is well-deserved drama, Kay Asante, and others is self-made grifting, as Hargeet Chani was saying. But hey, how you doing, brother? Welcome back. I cannot wait to get into this.
I'm happy to be here as usual, man. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, right? I'd say a roller coaster of emotions. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad, and I think it's just all in equal measure. I'm happy to be here and talk with you guys about it.
Well, listen, you know what? Let's get right into the big topic of the show, folks. And again, both subjects that we're going to be covering today are pretty lengthy, and they have a lot of girth. Pause.
Oh boy.
But what we wanted to open up with is what's been going on with Xbox. And again, this is one of those open-ended conversations where there's no wrong or right answer. And each of the members in the chat, of course, are going to, say your piece. Again, as a matter of fact, we're a week to the day that all of the layoffs and cancellations were announced. If you remember last week, I was a bit emotional, and I gave the righteous smoke to Xbox, and more specifically to Microsoft, because they're the ones that are really pulling the strings. And I thought, and I still think to this day, it was well-deserved smoke. But we have been a week removed, and since then, there's been a lot of information that's come out, regarding Perfect Dark and whether or not the game, the game vertical slice that they showed us was real. Was it fake? Was it, choreographed? You heard one developer say, no, that's the level. That's how you played it, but it really wasn't a level. There was a lot of layers to it. This is where Kay Asante and I are kind of on, opposite sides. because I think for me personally, like one of the biggest gut punches was Perfect Dark because I like the character. I think Joanna Dark is an amazing character. I think the world that she is in, and then she only had 2 games, right? You know, you go all the way back to the N64, and then of course the 360 launch game, which really wasn't that good, but it was serviceable. Like I played it, I beat it. But that wasn't the only piece. You know, obviously what happened with Everwild. I mean, it's just bad management, folks. Ultimately, this is all bad management. The question is who's to really blame here? Like who is watching what these studios are doing? Well, ultimately, that's Matt Booty, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, again, we don't know what the ramifications of studio closures and game cancellations. We know that costs millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. But if it started and ended with Microsoft's drama internally with the layoffs and the cancellations, it would be shitty. It would be news that we would have to cover, but it would eventually be long in the tooth that we're getting back to what we all are here for, and that's to talk about playing video games. And there's been a lot of games. I've purchased, I think, about a dozen games, some of which are pre-orders. Like, I pre-ordered a couple of roguelites for like Vampire Survivor type games because that has become one of my favorite genres. I pre-ordered the RoboCop expansion, which is coming out soon. A couple of things. Tony Hawk is available for us to play right now if we want. But it did not end there, right? And the minute Xbox steps on a rake, and they do that quite often, gentlemen in chat, the sharks start to, I would even say not sharks. Well, the sharks are circling, or the vultures are circling, because all they want to do is pick on the bones of Xbox and use it as an opportunity to do what they do best, and that's grift. And one of the stories that came out, Hargeet Chani, was the unsustainability of Xbox Game Pass. And that started actually with a gentleman that used to work for Arcane Studios. He was one of the founding members of Arcane. He left the studio in 2017 and has not been back since. He came out and he said some things about Game Pass being, bad for the industry and, unsustainable, and it's hurting developers. And there was a lot of stuff. And of course, you heard my spiel already yesterday talking about Christopher Dring and his nonsense. And I just wonder when, like some of the gaming journalistic, avenues are going to stop taking this guy serious. Like, the guy literally talks out the side of his neck, and he hasn't gotten anything right yet. Like, he literally continuously gets it wrong, and people still run with the guy's shit. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, and again, I, don't want to throw any, websites under the bus because, we don't like the names thing here. We occasionally we have to name people because we have to talk about, Christopher Dring's shenanigans. So there is a name drop there, but that's for complete context. The one thing, Hargeet, that I keep seeing from, and look, I'm going to be fair here. I have seen it on both sides, Hargeet. What I'm talking about is the word trust, right? Trust seems to be a little shaken when you're talking about Xbox after what happened, right? Now, one of the conversations that I've seen is, and even Kay Asante, we're going to get into what me and Kay had to say, is, well, if they canceled Perfect Dark, they canceled the unannounced MMO that apparently Phil Spencer was playing like a madman. He loved it. And that's the one from the ZeniMax Online, right? That was canceled. You obviously had Everwild, which that game has been in development for, I want to say it's got to be about 6 or 7 years, maybe more than that. And you had, Rare not know what it was, which is just bonkers to me, right? And, the question that keeps getting asked within the community, and again, I'm being fair, there are actual Xbox gamers asking the question, but there is a subset of haters, grifters, and trolls that are asking the same question. So we know that they're being, facetious, but some of the Xbox community that's asking this question is legit. And that question is, well, if they canceled those games, how could we trust that something like State of Decay 3, which skipped the showcase, is safe? Well, I know Jez Corden investigated it, and he literally reported that both the studio and the game are good, but some people are not happy with that. So, obviously you saw it with when I did the advertising for tonight's show. The big question is, how does Phil, Sarah, Matt, and Team Xbox regain the trust of the Xbox community after what happened last week, which kind of really, again, it's one of those things that are with the community a little bit.
Look, could any of those games be canceled? Of course they could be, right? It's up to those studios to actually make the game and make it happen, right? So ultimately, like, I don't know what trust necessarily means. They're putting out games. Some of these are things we don't know about, right? ZeniMax online game is it's all rumors. We don't actually know anything because, well, we're just getting, hey, this happened at a studio. Okay. What was that game? I don't know. That was never announced. Something that maybe Phil liked. Okay. How do we know that's true? We don't. Right. So whatever that is, I don't know. Right. So we also heard the same thing from Naughty Dog when Factions 2, they internally play tested. They thought it was fantastic. They loved it. Did it come out?
No. Actually, the Bungie canceled that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So does that happen? Right. Okay. Well, are we seeing the same thing with that side of the aisle? Right. So, necessarily you should probably do that and say, well, should I trust Embracer? No, because they've canceled so many things. It's just the way it is. Should I trust PlayStation? No, because they've canceled so many things. They put out a game and canceled it in 10 days.
Yeah.
Right. So should I trust them? No. You can't trust any company because ultimately they will do what makes sense for their bottom line. So I don't know what else to really say. Like, if there's an assumption, maybe we were under this false assumption that PlayStation plays for money and Xbox plays for fans. Well, that's not true. They play for money as well. They're just trying to make money by giving you stuff you want. That's it. There's really not much more to it. But apparently people seem to think otherwise, and I don't know where that comes from. They've always been. It's not a $3.5 trillion company because they give things away. They make money. They're the only OS you have to buy. Like, everybody else just includes it. It is what it is. Like, it's just a different world. Like, they freaking charge you for everything. Like, why would this be confusing that they want to make money? It's not like the other side isn't doing the same thing. It's not like Nintendo doesn't do the same thing. They make money. That's it. They want to sell stuff. They want to make money. Like, that's the whole point. Why do you think they sue people for freaking putting up emulators and like, oh, you put up content that we don't know. We want people to buy the game instead of watch the game. Like, no, this is the way it is. Like, every company is an asshole to some level. That's just the way it is. So can you trust them? No, you can't trust anybody. You can't. That's not the game here. They will put out what they put out. If you have it in your hands, you have it. Even that doesn't necessarily matter because you always have this. So it doesn't necessarily always matter. They could kill whatever they want to, right? You can still play freaking Redfall, but you can't play this. Okay. Like, could Redfall die? Sure. It could. Like, again, the trust thing, just, I don't know, man. Like, maybe people have these ideas that I just don't. Like, I've dealt with business my entire life. This is just the way it is.
Yeah.
You can't trust a damn thing. Like, it just is what it is. Right. I don't know. I don't know how, where all that comes from. Maybe people thought Phil was this ultra uber nice guy and he doesn't have to give money back to Microsoft or something. No, that's not the way it works. He is just as on the hook as PlayStation is, as Nintendo is to its shareholders, as EA is, as whoever, right? They all have to eventually make money. That's it. They have to make money So I don't. The trust thing is just and every time Xbox sneezes, oh my God, Xbox dead. Oh
yeah, it's
like
true.
It just doesn't stop. Like the same thing will happen with Sony. They'll have a 10% layoff, and Xbox will have a 10% layoff, and it's like, oh, they killed gaming. It's all over. How dare they? And like, dude, like, why didn't you have this energy when Sony did that? Because it doesn't matter.
Look, whether you call it Xbox
so
tax
crazy.
or whether you call it moving the goalpost or somewhere in the middle, there is obviously a different ratio for each company. Nintendo is untouchable no matter what they do, which I disagree with.
I think
love
that's
Nintendo,
hopefully starting to change with the $80 games and the $450 console. Hopefully that is starting to change. But you're right. Nintendo is kind of in that untouchable category. They just get away with anything. So,
look, again,
it's sad.
It's sad because Hargy, Nintendo released a new console, which I'm very much enjoying. But let's call a spade a spade. It was a very light first party release.
Yep.
Like at launch. It was. It had one game and one downloadable game that nobody bought. I bought it because I like racers, right? But and of course the peripherals, they all went up a couple of bucks because of the tariffs thing, and they got a little smoke, but everyone forgot about it. $80 games, people forgot about it. Sony hasn't put out a first party game that's not multi-plat this year. Now they do have one coming out. As a matter of fact, it's tomorrow. They have their state of play for Ghost of Yotai. And don't get me wrong, that's a day one purchase for me. That's not even a question. I can't wait to play that game. I loved Ghost of Tsushima. I know I'm going to love this. But
I hope it's good. I hope it's good.
But it's one game, ladies and gentlemen.
And to be fair, they would consider Death Stranding 2 published by PlayStation as a first party, even though it really isn't.
That is true.
And then Lost Soulside, I think that's the other one that's coming.
That might be a PlayStation,
and that might be published by PlayStation.
Right.
And they might consider that first party. Fair enough. It's like Ninja Gaiden is totally not an Xbox game, but it is being considered first party because it's being published by Xbox.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's like PlayStation is super light this year. There's a good chance they're going to be super light next year as well. They've done some egregious things, and no one talks about it. Xbox is the one that is on the hook for everything that's wrong with gaming. For everything, of course, Game Pass was, thrown under the bus. We got some new numbers. Matt Piscatella came out and basically said that the subscription service has grown exponentially. And I wonder why that is. Something I've been beating the drum on for quite a while, and that's because, everything's expensive. So people are being less inclined to spend $76.43 on a game that they're probably going to trade in to get $2 from GameStop. So it's people are not buying as many games because they quite can't afford it. I don't know where else.
If you want to talk about that specific thing, about the whole stupid thing about Game Pass.
We can get into it. Again, this is an open-ended conversation. So again, of course, if you want to, harken back to what we opened up with, talking about how Xbox Game Pass, because and that's the thing that drives me crazy, and I think it drives you crazy as well. Yes, you are going to have developers and smaller studios that don't like it. That is okay. They don't have to be a part of Xbox Game Pass. They can voice their opinions and say that they don't like that. It's okay. Not everyone is going to like the service, but to turn around and have a handful of developers or a studio owners that may or may not even be a part of the business anymore say that it's unsustainable and it's bad, and we know that it's not. We know that it's not because we've had so many amazing stories of smaller teams get their game onto Game Pass and have tremendous amount of sales as well as players. So, again, if you want to address that, by all means, because, again, Xbox Game Pass bad, it almost goes hand in hand with Xbox bad news.
Yeah, I mean, it's the standard thing of how do we make Xbox not exist, and that really is it. It's a whole insecurity thing of people who have chosen PlayStation as their main. Because I don't necessarily hear this from Nintendo fans. You know why? Because they have Nintendo. They don't care. They play their games. They go buy it and they have fun, right? You don't really even need to talk about freaking Xbox or PlayStation if you're a Nintendo fan, because you're eating whatever you need to eat, right? They put out their games and everybody buys them, and they make their billions and billions in profit, and they're happy. If third parties come, they come. That's just the way it is. But it's PlayStation. It's PlayStation who has this insecurity because, well, they can't compete to the same level as far as output that, as far as number of games, right? And value. It's obvious. It's so much better to have Game Pass than it is to have PS Plus Extra or Premium, even though those are growing according to PlayStation's last, financial roundtable that they did. That is growing, right? So Nishino is saying, hey, those are growing pretty well. They're going to try to make them even more compelling by putting in day and date third-party games.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Who did that first?
How is this possible? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Look at that.
They're going to destroy gaming, Boom. How are they doing this? This is going to destroy. Come on, guys. Like, it's so baloney. So, all this fake bull crap. If PlayStation had come up with the Game Pass model, it would be the best thing that's ever happened to gaming. Now it's the worst thing that's ever happened because it's being done by Xbox. Let's just face facts. It just is what it is. It's this massive insecurity. Just stop. Why do you have to worry how Phil Spencer reports to freaking Amy Hood or Satya Nadella? It's not your job. Their financials are good enough that they're continuing. That's it. That's all you have to worry about. Game Pass is 15% of their service, whatever their revenue for the content side. 85% is coming elsewhere. Are they happy? They're happy. What do you want? Like, just leave it alone. Are you going to get everything? No. Sometimes things like, Perfect Dark happen. Why? It's taking too long. It's not going to, bring back the returns. And they're like, this isn't helping us. So we're going to stop it. Everwild. You had your chance, Rare. It's been like forever.
Yep.
Right. So, like, what do you want? Right. That concept probably started after, they released Sea of Thieves, which is 2019. Is that right? Something like that. 2018, 19. I think it was 19. Right. So 2019, 2020, how long before you even get a game loop? Like, come on. And it's Rare. This is the part that really annoys me. It's a company that's literally been around forever in gaming. They should know how to make a game, and they didn't even make the game loop first. Whatever. Fine. Big L on that one. It is what it is, but that is totally on Rare. They should have had that like by now, at least a good 3/4 of the way done and ready to roll, and it had something useful there. And whatever, that's on them. Other games, doesn't matter if you're having fun. It just matters if it's viable to finish it or not, right? If Zenny had to take effort away from ESO or Fallout 76, which are working, and say, oh, hey, could we like slow those down to make this? And it'll take us 4 years. And like, no, no, we want those ESO updates because that makes us money every year. Yeah. So we'll get that instead. Thank you. Hey, it is what it is, right? So you talk about how they sustain their bottom line. They sell you freaking expansions to their games. It's called live service. That thing that Sony's so desperate to have. They have that. They have that. Okay, that's how that works. So, too bad. It sucks that they couldn't get their other game. Maybe they do at some point, right? But for now, Phil's got to return X amount % of freaking profit, and that's what he's doing. And Game Pass is a part of that deal, and you don't have to worry about it. You know who does have to worry about it? Phil. So, if Phil says it's working for him, you don't need to worry about it.
What's also interesting.
We're good.
Yeah, well, what's I find very interesting. That this should be common sense news, but I saw a tweet from Paris Lilly, and he actually said that the way Satya Nadella has been chopping things that don't work, if Game Pass did not work,
they'd have killed it.
They would have ended it years ago.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He wants it. You know why? It's tied to his cloud. And what does Satya Nadella want more than anything? Is cloud.
Cloud gaming.
He wants cloud. That's why he wants this whole thing. So it ain't going anywhere because it's got cloud attached to it. So, but anyway, whatever. The other thing is looking at, and I'm trying to get the wording of this right, but he asked if there was like a profitability for, from Game Pass going towards the studios based on lost sales because it's in Game Pass. And it's like, dude, that's not how it works. If you work for a company, no matter what your output is, you don't make profits. Your company does. That's just the way it is. So if Naughty Dog makes $1 billion off of Last of Us 2, they didn't make $1 billion. PlayStation and Sony made that money. They paid their employees a salary. They may have great incentive bonuses and stuff like that, but they do not get profits. So no studio owned by these platforms is profitable because they're not making the profit. The company is making the profit.
I thought that was very odd.
Why ask that question? It's not about that. It's a bottom line sunk cost for them to have these things. If you take, for instance, the shift from Hiroki Totoki on the Sony side to say, hey, our studios will no longer be, I'm going to try to get the wording right, enablers and marketing tools for the platform, and instead be profit drivers. I believe those were the words that were used. It's because that is what these were, right? They take the hit because they assume this will have people come to the platform, right? And they were funding it. How Jim Ryan said, with Call of Duty. That's how they were funding it. Remember all that stuff, guys? So who is profitable, who is not profitable? Not your problem. Do they make enough money so that the corporation's happy? You're done. You don't have to worry about that. So the whole idea of why you need to worry about sustainability of any of these services, how does forget Game Pass. How does PlayStation Plus Extra work? How do they manage to put games in there? How are they paying for this? Why do I care?
I know.
What do I get? That's all that matters to me. What do I get? Am I going to pay for this or not? Is it valuable to me or not? Should I worry if Ubisoft Plus makes money for them or not? No, I get it if it has value to me. It's their problem to figure out their sustainability. That's not my problem. That's an accountant's headache. Let them figure it out. Right? I'm just I'm not sure why this keeps coming up. It'd be one thing if it was like this financial genius comes up and says, well, I analyzed the entire market and this, okay, fine. Right? You know who does that kind of thing? That's what Wall Street does.
Yes.
Is Wall Street saying, Microsoft, you're doing bad? No, they keep investing more. Their market caps keep shooting up and up and up and up. By the way, so is Sony's. So why am I worried? Tell me where the issue is. I don't care. It's not my problem. If PlayStation is making money or if Xbox is making money, that's those corporations' problem. I'm a consumer. By the way, I'm also an investor, so in some ways I do care, but I'll put that aside.
Yeah, and I mean, again, just all jokes aside, at the end of the day, as a gamer, as someone that likes Xbox, as someone that subscribes to Xbox Game Pass, do you care if Microsoft made any money? No, you want to know what the next slate of Xbox games or third-party, indie, second-party, or first-party games are going into the service. That's what you want to know.
Yeah, and I mean, does anybody question Ubisoft Plus? I haven't seen those articles. I haven't seen the big
no.
How do they make money? Boom, how do they make money? How can they give it away for that little? I don't understand. Like, who cares? If you subscribe, you get the game. That's all that matters. Who's doing that analysis? Nobody cares. Is Ubisoft in financial trouble? Yes. Is anybody sitting there going, it's Ubisoft Plus's fault? It's all Ubisoft Plus's fault. I can't believe they do. No, because nobody gives a shit. It's his all insecurity that Xbox is doing something and they don't like it. That's it. That's all it is. It's such a bunch of crap.
No, it ultimately is. But again, it's just one of those things that I find so odd that, and again, folks, no one is trying to remove blame or the spotlight for the rake stepping that Xbox does to itself. Right now, we knew about these cuts and we knew it was going to be bad, and it was bad. They canceled multiple games, and a lot of people lost their jobs. So ultimately, they should get the smoke, man. And no one's suggesting that they shouldn't. But I'm always just perplexed, Que Asante, how it goes from the situation to immediately how Xbox Game Pass has ruined everything about gaming because they're non-traditional. Folks, Circana which of course, what's
Not
his name
that
works.
black hole games. That's not what's doing
That
it.
that
plays. That's not
ultimately,
what's doing it.
yes, the black hole games or the free to play games like Apex, like PUBG, like Fortnite, like Marvel Rivals. These games can be played for hours, hundreds, thousands of hours, and never spend a singular dime. That's why people aren't buying. That's why you saw that report last week. Younger people are spending 30+%. No kidding. If the adults don't have the money, the kids are going to play. They're going to play what their friends are playing, and that, of course, is free to play. But Kay, this is one of those open-ended conversations, and I know you want to go and you want to talk about some smoke, right? Now, obviously, you have a great DM, and I want you to kind of promote that because a lot of people are starting to flock to it. It's a bunch of great gamers hanging out in there. I've been in there a couple of times. I'm definitely the oldest man there, and it's fine. But
not true. There's some old heads in there. Don't worry about it.
We were having a phenomenal conversation this morning, and you think that there is smoke to be had at leadership.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me be a bit more specific about it, because since you and I have talked about it, I've had a chance to really think about it and crystallize my thoughts a bit on it. Right.
Excellent.
So I want to be clear on this, right? Like you, during that time, I felt like there was a lot of smoke to go around because they handled it in a very haphazard way. There was a lot of, and bro, the spawn camping, come on, what you camping, bro? It's just me.
I'm defending my post. Look.
Anyway, this man anyway. So after with some hindsight, with some time removed, you can kind of, while I don't agree and I don't condone and on any of that, obviously, you can kind of see from a business perspective why certain decisions were made, right? As despicable as business can be sometimes, people losing their jobs, all that, it's par for the course here. It is what it is, right? Where I was, and this is where Boom and I disagree, where I sit in this whole soup of various events that have occurred is with Perfect Dark. And it's not to say that Perfect Dark being canceled means something, or that, oh my God, they canceled something, so that's a big deal, or we can't trust them. That none of that. That's not me. Okay. And I know some have been coming with that argument. That's not me. My question is, what happened? And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. Okay. When they're making a game, and this is, TLDR, kind of high level. I'm using an analogy because I find that works best. When they're making a game, imagine there being a pizza that's being built, and eventually you will eat that pizza. That'll be the retail done pie, right? But because that takes years to make, right, in order to show you something at an event of some kind, right, they'll make a vertical slice or the whole pie, right? They'll take a sliver of that pie and they'll clean that part up enough to where, the behind closed doors or trailers could be cut from it or things like that, right? I've been instances where I've been lucky enough to be able to go see some of those things, right? But in all of those instances, you definitely get a sense that there's the pie, but this is the only piece that you are allowed to play with because the other parts aren't ready yet, right? More and more, it is coming out, or it's starting to look like there was no pie with Perfect Dark after X amount of years of development. Now, let's also be fair in saying that it was rebooted, because you would imagine it was rebooted after Crystal Dynamics took over, because before then it was a different game. Supposedly they had played it end to end, it was playable, all this stuff. Crystal Dynamics took over, changed the scope a little bit. I think even the art style changed a bit, and there you go, right? So it didn't take that long. But last year, the vertical slice that we were shown was just that. And I feel like that requires a conversation, because that is borderline nefarious behavior, right? This was not a piece of a whole pie that we're cleaning up so that you can eventually have it. This eventually turned out to be the only thing they built was the vertical slice. So what happened? I think Crystal Dynamic had for about 4 years. In 4 years of development time, what happened?
That's a great question.
I feel like that specifically is a question that needs answering. I get that. Oh, things get canceled all the time. B, understood, right? As much as an unpopular of an opinion as I think it may be, I kind of sort of understand what's going on with that whole Forza and what do you call it? And Turn 10 and playground games. I kind of get from a business perspective why they would do that. It sucks, and a lot of people got let go. It's all terrible. But I kind of, from a business perspective, see why someone would do what they would do with that, right? I get obviously you get why Everwild would be let go. All of that, in hindsight, when you sit down and you take some emotion out of it and you don't think with your gamer first brain, you can kind of understand why they're making those moves. All that being said, Perfect Dark specifically is an interesting use case, because I feel like it's the same kind of energy that we got back in the day when other folks were selling a bad bill of goods behind the scenes and weren't telling people, and eventually led to them being let go. I think something like that happened at 343, right? When certain deadlines weren't being met, and it was found out that someone was not really, they were talking a good game but weren't really like producing to the talk, right? I feel like some of that is here, because even though the canceling here, obviously they cancel it for righteous reasons. They're going to take so much more years in order to fulfill. We don't even know how many more potential budget would have to go in for it to become eventually a thing. So they had to make a decision. I get that, right? My question is, who allowed this to be like this for this long?
Yeah, good question.
Allowed there, because the way, and let's be absolutely clear in what I'm saying here, right? The very first time we saw a Crystal Dynamic, a Perfect Dark renderer, it was just a mood piece, as they all do. I bet it wasn't even made in-house, as they all do, right? Hellblade 2. That first piece was not made by Ninja Theory. It was a mood piece, but then they worked to fill in the gaps because that's the vision they went for, and they exceeded that vision, right? So it's no one saying that, oh, mood, it's got to be like we need to see your homework or whatever. But when you show us another one literally a year ago, right? Because the distance between that first one and the one a year ago was some time, right? And now you presumably have footage that almost has gameplay, which people got to play. All of that speaks to, hey, we've been working hard on this thing, and look at what we have to show you, and we're going to be done relatively soon, because look at the gameplay here, right? Only to come and find out that there were no scaffolding at all. All it was the smoke. That's all it was. I honestly think that this specific case is unique and requires some investigation. You know what I'm saying? Because this breeds mismanagement. It breeds a lot of oddities in this specific case. Because what they showed us was seemingly a project that was on the right track and seemingly more than half of the way done. What it looked like, right? And exactly like the way they showed us. What do you call it? Exactly the way they showed us. What's the name of the game that I was super excited about? Clockwork Revolution. Remember how they showed us Clockwork? The first day you saw Clockwork, wasn't that like a complete picture? You were like, wow, they could release this thing tomorrow. It looked complete, right? Now imagine they cancel that next year and say, and then you find out that it wasn't. It's odd. That's the only part. Because it had gone so long and because there was so much more shown, I'm kind of like, huh? That's just an unusual situation. And somebody was doing something weird there. That's the only part of it that makes me go, that requires a bit more investigation. Now, beyond that, everyone's got the righteous smoke for them, right? Everyone's got righteous smoke of some kind for them, and it's deserved, whether it be delivery of the message, whether it be, them going back on their word or any of that. But business is going to business, right? And at the end of the day, for me, I've always been very transactional. That I say that and people don't get happy with me, but I've always been transactional. I only pay for what I see. I only pay for the value that I perceive right now, not the promise of value tomorrow, right? You want to get my money tomorrow? Show me something cool tomorrow. I'll give you my money tomorrow. Today, I will give you my money for something cool today. And that's just me,
I mean, listen, it's a great point all around. And eventually that question is probably going to be raised if it hasn't already been raised internally. I know that you and I have and a lot of people have asked this question, and I listen, I don't know his daily duties. I'm talking about Matt Booty. I would imagine he did get promoted. He is in charge of all of the Xbox Game Studios, so he has a lot on his plate. There are questions like the Bethesda thing that's still being handled with Bethesda. Like they're monitoring and policing.
You know what? One thing though, Boom. One piece of the puzzle that I really want to say that I haven't said, and I'm sorry, I need to say this because a good amount of my friends lost jobs because of all of this. I have some friends at Microsoft, and they lost jobs because of this. And by and large, when you look out there on the front street of all the various socials, what do they tell you? We are unfortunately the victims of a non-performance related, restructuring, this and that. All this non-performance related restructurings. And it's so sad, and really, really good, hardworking folks losing their jobs and this, that, and the third, right? There are some people within the Microsoft ranks, I won't name names, but I think you'll know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
That have a spotty record, but they get to keep their job after this non-performance review, even though their record is literally spotty. How can they keep theirs while those who work hard, who don't have any blemishes on their record, have to go? I think it's unfair.
It is. Ultimately, it is. And you know what? When you told me that, because you obviously had it from within the source, you actually had the source. To hear that is very disappointing, because usually when someone loses a job, at least the way it's supposed to work, is you're losing the job because you could not perform at a certain level for that job. Right. So if you can't perform at that level, then you shouldn't have that job. A lot of the people that did lose their jobs did not lose their jobs. He's laughing
because he knows damn well that's not how it goes.
No, I know.
That's why he's
laughing. It all depends on who you know, who your manager is, and who you're connected to.
Yeah.
It does not. I'm sorry, but like if people think it's not political in companies as well, you're full of it.
It's Wonderland for you. No, I absolutely. I mean, listen, again, maybe this wasn't the for a lot of. First of all, I see the chat going back and forth, and a lot of people are really enjoying the conversation. So that makes me happy as a host, because I think that these are the conversations that need to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Are they fun? I mean, to some extent, yeah. I mean, I think I've had fun talking about it, but I do think that these conversations need to occur. And again, before we move on to the Tokyo Game Show stuff, and again, I have the article in front of me, and I want to. It's already up. It's already been attached to the show. I attached it today, so if you want to read it yourself, by all means, please go ahead. Any smoke for what happened with Christopher Dring and Xbox Game Pass not being profitable for like the 30th time since inception? It's crazy to me. I mean, listen, I'm an Xbox guy, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa, surprise. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Boom, you shocked me. I thought you were a pony. No, I'm an Xbox. It's fine. But I never ask how much money Xbox is making, because I don't give a shit. I don't care how much money they're making. You know what I care about? I care about adding more games to my backlog that I know I'll never play. And I go like, for instance, there was a golf game, a mini golf game. Did I have to buy it? It was $4. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I like mini golf. Why not? I buy games all the freaking time, and I don't really care how much money Xbox makes. I don't, and I shouldn't, and neither should you. What you should care about is the service that you are paying for giving you the value? And again, this pitchfork and torches situation with Xbox Game Pass and the amount of hate and unbelievable conversation of how they just are hell-bent on seeing this service fail is mind-boggling, Kay. I've just never seen such a hate. And Dirk Griggity, shout out to that man. That guy's been working. And if you're not already subscribed to him, please get over there and subscribe to his channel. Dirk Griggity is one of the best in the business, and his videos are great. Like, I watched, I think, the last video 3 times, because he is just funny. And I love it when when he does the one man dark man show. I love when he does his videos, and I love when he's with Shannon and the guys, because it's a fun podcast. But he said it in his last video, like the amount of journalists and the community members, they don't surprise me. They are who we thought that they were, Kay, and they're always going to be that way, right? But when you see the journalists getting on, trying to get a bite out of this sandwich, it's a bit shocking, Kay.
Look, this whole thing with Xbox, like, profitability, it is the juice that's never ever the well that never dries, because there's always somebody ready to be outraged. There's always somebody ready to pick up the pitchforks and run with it. No matter how many ways, no matter how many times you flip it back and forth, there will always be somebody to toe that line and have a bunch of people follow along. They can say it in 1,000,001 ways. You will always find some way to be able to disbelieve them. Look, here's a quick story. For those in the States who remember, this was way before COVID, so it might have missed your mind, right? There used to be this movie service called Movie Pass. I was a huge fan of Movie Pass. Okay. For those who don't know, get this: $10 a month, unlimited movie tickets. That's right. Not X amount. No, unlimited movie tickets. What's the first thing I said? Okay, this thing ain't gonna last. Oh, hell yeah, this is over. But until it's over, we gonna ride this out. Watch so many damn movies. $10 a month. Watched sometimes went to like 15 movies in a month because you said I could do that.
Right.
Eventually, what happened? That thing went belly up, because every time you go to a movie, that's them buying the movie ticket for you. It was a bad business model. It eventually went belly up. But I say all this to say, was I sitting there going, well, is Movie Pass sustainable? It is not. We should be worried. We should have deliberations. Nah, fam. I was busy watching them movies before it was too late. That's what I was doing. Why do we care if this will eventually evaporate? Let's enjoy it until it does.
And obviously, based on some information that came the way of Matt Piscatella of Circana, that's not happening. As a matter of fact, there is record growth for not only Game Pass, but PlayStation or PSN or PS Plus, whatever you want to call it. Both services are growing exponentially.
And by the way, Boom, I actually am wrong in saying that it's bad or it's okay for it to die, because even in the Movie Pass example, once it died, it gave way to AMC Stubbs A-List, a more reasonable service that still gave you a damn good discount.
Yeah, and Regal
has one too now. Regal
now, right?
Yeah. So
exactly.
Which in the same example of new ones that equalized and said this is how we can sustain
ourselves. Right. Which in the same example, look at PlayStation Plus. I know people clown it. Bro, it had Animal Well on it. 2 months.
They just got Cyberpunk, dude.
Cyberpunk, yeah. 2 months after it was available everywhere, it had freaking Dragon Age Veilguard. Yo, they weren't doing any of that until Game Pass was.
And you heard what Hargeet said. Literally, Sony's brass said we are going to be putting more day and date third party in there. Like, whoa.
There you go. Right.
Yep.
So even if people go, it's poison or this, that,
per
and the
year,
third,
they want to put in, and like, okay, that's good. So maybe you guys will start getting 1 or 2 day and dates, like, and that's because of competition. That's a good thing.
See, competition breeds.
So that's the idea. So the idea that Game Pass is bad for the industry, this, that, and the third, those are just sour grapes by people who were not the ones to either come up with the idea or get the have the benefit of the bag that Game Pass produces.
Not to mention for the developer who then can go pinging back and forth and say, PlayStation offered this.
Now, but Hargeet, I will say, and this is a cheap plug to the Discord. If you end up liking it, join the Discord, GCP Discord.
Drop the link in the chat, brother, because people are asking for it right now.
Actually, it's actually quite easy. I can tell you right now, it's quite easy. We now have a custom Discord. It's discord.gg/The Gaming Circle Podcast. So discord.gg/TGCP.
There you go.
Very simple. right?
It's a great place to have a great conversation.
I bring it up
games.
because we had some developers in the house recently. I won't name names. If you're around, you happen to catch it. If you are not, hey, you missed it. But they were talking about Game Pass and what it looks like and how the times might be changing and all those interesting things. So it's not to say that Game Pass is this infinite, like endless wave of goodness that will continue to give nothing but bounty to the public forever. Look at Netflix. It's literally recreating the Netflix model. It used to be, they used to give a bunch of money to all these third parties. Then eventually they started making Stranger Things and started prioritizing their own stuff a little bit. So now those third parties may not be getting the same big old bags that they used to because they have to prioritize their own stuff. Right. But it's an interesting conversation to be had. Those who are quick to throw it out with the bathwater that like it's bad for the industry are kind of closed-minded.
I mean, I think
it's really more the black hole games. It's the third,
it's 100% the black hole
the
games.
free-to-play games that really are changing the industry. Right. Why do you think mobile makes so much money? It's because it's free-to-play stuff and they get these little hooks into you. Hey, do you want to get this or do you want to like wait a day? Oh, just pay the $1.
If you're,
that's what they do.
It's a very simple ideology, guys. Right? If you play a game for free, you're more inclined to purchase something within game because you're not paying for the game. You didn't spend $70 in the game. Whatever game that whatever that game could be. It could be a puzzler. It could be a card game. It could be a mobile shooter. Whatever it is. If you're playing a game like for instance Fortnite, well, I don't play it, but I spend money in Fortnite. When they get a skin like a G.I. Joe skin, how am I not going to buy that? Like, do I play occasionally? I do. I'm terrible at it, but I play it and I enjoy it. I'm not a battle royale guy, but I'm going to spend $20 to get a Snake Eyes or a Duke or a Lady J skin because I'm a G.I. Joe fan. Now, if they ever came to Call of Duty, I'm going broke because it's going to be G.I. Joe all day long. But until that happens, like when the Ninja Turtles came to Call of Duty, I was like, I don't know. I bought all 4 of them. It wasn't even a thought. I was like, you know what? I started off with Donatello, who's my favorite turtle, and I went to Raph. I said, Leo. Well, if I got those 3, I got to get Mikey. And I went to buy all and I played and it's great. Listen, gaming is an expensive hobby and an expensive hobby in a time where money is tight for a lot of people. People are going to try and save $1 or $2, whether they wait to buy a game, whether they try to buy the game second or third party through the eBay, or they get it used, or they wait for a sale. But ultimately, the whole story about Game Pass ruining the industry, that is so far from the truth. And it's crazy to me that is still a conversation that professional websites with so-called professional journalists are writing articles on. It is again, I don't get frustrated. It doesn't bother me. I'm paid up to, I literally just the other day, because the way it works for me with Game Pass is when I have 3 months that go, and there's a block that's available, I buy a card. I'm paid up until July 5th of 28. I'm good. No matter what happens with Game Pass. And I think everyone should do that as well. It's the best service.
Does GameFly kill gaming?
No.
Did Blockbuster kill gaming when you could rent games? No. Like, it's all baloney, man. It's come on.
It really is. But I mean, listen,
trading games into GameStop kill gaming because people buy secondhand copies and stuff. Like, come on.
I know they're pretty ridiculous. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we're an hour in. We got about another 30 minutes, 35 minutes, give or take. I do want to catch up on a couple of super chats. And then we're going to get into Tokyo Game Show. I have the article from windowscentral.com. That article, in fact, was written not by Jez Corden, by Alexander Cope. It was published 14 hours ago. We'll get to that in a second. Folks, I got news for you. Tokyo Game Show is going to be a big deal. Capcom has already confirmed. Sony's going to be there. Nintendo's going to be everyone. The who's who of gaming is going to be there, but it's more specific about what Xbox is bringing to the table. We're going to get to that in a hot second, but let me just catch up on these super chats here. We have the first one of the day comes the way of a generous friend of the program. I talk with Brett pretty much like everyone else on DMs every day of the week. Brett Bingham drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, hot take, all PSX dev games will be coming to Xbox. Started with DS, Death Stranding and Helldivers 2, Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Yams, and DS2 will soon be there as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Stellar Blade game looks dope. I didn't buy it because I knew it was going to eventually come to Xbox. That's coming to Xbox. That's going to launch on Xbox. You know why? Because it did gangbuster numbers on Steam, and that company is going to want to make more money. I don't know what the exclusivity deal is. If it's probably a year, if I was a guessing kind of a guy with Sony. But I put it to this way. You're going to start to see that Sony's only going to be able to make these deals with very small companies that are upstarts. The big publishers have moved away from Sony because they want to make money everywhere, and Sony's contracts are ironclad and ridiculous. And I mean, just look how long it's taken to get Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's still not out. It's coming out later this year. We just don't know when. But it's Sony painted themselves into a corner, and I think that's what birthed the China project. Getting smaller studios from that side of the world that want an audience, and of course they sign these contracts with Sony. Some of the games are really great. Some of the games don't hit. Rise of the Ronin was a little bit surprising that it wasn't exclusive. But that's eventually going to come to Xbox. I don't know what it's going to track because it had a lot of problems. But we will certainly see. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, Hargeet, they need to worry about Xbox because if not, they would have to look at and be concerned about PlayStation, and that destroys their narratives. Xbox is dead. I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about Sony, and you know what's funny when you point out, and I'm not talking about trolling on Sony. I'm talking about something happens with Sony, like a game is canceled, the studio is closed, they have layoffs. Same thing as Xbox. If you were to point that out and have smoke for them, you would be an Xbox. And why are you talking about Sony? That's ultimately what it is. You laugh, Hargy, but that's the truth. That's honestly
it's not like somebody might have had a retirement party before he left and killed the studio a week later.
Yeah.
I mean, that couldn't have happened. No.
That didn't happen to jumping Jim Ryan. No, certainly not. Ryan Lyon, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Pixie Q in the chat. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for hanging out and dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Pixie goes on to say, are any of y'all planning to on getting Ready or Not on console next week? As a former cop, I'd love to hear Boom's thought of what or watch y'all do co-op. Ready or Not, what is? I didn't even hear about that. What actually is that?
It's a multiplayer focused and very tactical. I think it's like SWAT shooter kind of thing. It's been on Steam for a long time. So yes, it is. It might be up your alley, sir.
It's on the radar. I did not even know that a game existed because I don't do PC stuff normally. But if it's coming to console, I'll give it a shot. Sure. I mean, again, if I'm not great at the Ubisoft one, but I'm pretty good at shooters, so I would definitely give that a shot. Thank you so much for the.
He says while spawn camping and smoking fools.
When you're defending your spot, you have to camp. Look, I'm running around like a madman, like Jason Voorhees, and killing everybody. Look, here we go.
What I'm saying is, you got the skill and you're being humble. Calm down, sir. Go ahead.
I love it. Mo de la Garza drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, K. Asante quoted, paid in full.
Oh, yeah.
He's a real one. Indeed, he is, kind sir. Indeed, he is. Ultron Quake. Ultron Quake, who's been a channel member for nearly 2 years. Ultron, brother, that is very kind of you. Thank you so much for the support. He says, boom, G.I. Joe in Overwatch 2. I saw that. I don't really play Overwatch, but man, they got everybody in there and they got all of Cobra. So I'm gonna have to get down with that.
But boom, isn't that like getting closer and closer to your baby? Because Overwatch is ABK. Like it's getting closer and closer to Call of Duty.
Listen, how is there not at least a Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes freaking skin for Call of Duty? I mean, I'm running around. You're going to see it. Beavis and Butthead and the coach and the other bully are running around shooting me, beating me. Come on, folks. You can do Beavis and Butthead, for crying out loud. You can do G.I. Joe. But all right, so listen, folks, let's get right into this because Tokyo Game Show is, mind you, it's the week of September 25th. That happens to be my birthday, which is great. So maybe I'll get a Banjo-Kazooie surprise. No, I'm not going to get that. It's fine, but it is what it is. We did find out that Xbox has been confirmed to be in attendance for the Tokyo Game Show of 2025. And according to the article and according to, multiple articles out there, it's actually being set as the biggest show of its history. Like the Tokyo Game Show is been around for years, and has always been the biggest show for that region of the world. Well, guess what, folks? It's supposed to be the biggest one. Now, according to the article and according to what Alexander had to say, it has confirmed 772 companies from 46 countries that are going to be attending it. They've already confirmed 4,083 booths. So this thing is going to be big because last year they only, and I say only, I'm being facetious, folks, they had 3,252 booths. This year they're up almost 800 new attendees booths, which is a big deal. Now, obviously, according to the article, among the hundreds of companies attending, it's been confirmed by Tokyo Game Show's website, translated via Gematsu. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
I think it is.
Gematsu. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That Microsoft will be in attendance at the show. Now, here is where it gets really good. Because, again, according to the article, my Xbox is going to be showing off a bunch of first-party titles. Now, I don't know if they're going to be updates to things that we've already seen at the summer showcase, or it's going to be just the same. But the rumor that I have heard outside of this article, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, it's just one source. Please take it with an absolute grain of salt. There is a rumor circulating, and again, I did hear this from a particular source of mine that I do trust. There might be an actual new reveal that was held for this show. Now, Hargeet, you happen to make mention of a particular game that I think many of us have been begging Xbox to bring back. It was a incredible title from the 360. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but look, this show is going to follow what happens at Gamescom, which is at the end of August. Of course, now, again, I actually talked about this quite a few shows where after the Summer Games Fest stuff and the Xbox Showcase, there were still 3 big events happening. And one of the big ones is, of course, Gamescom. Gamescom is going to be massive. I don't know if there is a game or games that Xbox held back from their showcase because, again, I mean, they're having their 10th anniversary Fan Fest event there where they're going to be celebrating with the hundreds of thousands of fans. And, of course, last year, Kei Asante said they had a tremendous amount of Xbox booths. They had one ginormous section that just looked like Xbox land. Well, they're gonna reenact that this year as well, from what we understand. Then, of course, Tokyo Game Show, and finally, and this is probably the biggest event of the year, and it gets bigger every year. Whether people want to give Jeff credit or not, you got to give credit where credit is due and tip the hat. That's the Game Awards. The Game Awards may not be the award show that you want, but my God, he continues to grow that audience to unbelievable degree. So there are 3 shows. What is the game that you had said in the green room that you were hoping that could be? Because again, I either whether it be a remake on the level of Final Fantasy VII, because that would be insane, or an actual sequel. Take it away, Kay. Hargeet.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just mentioning like, hey, they could bring back something like Lost Odyssey or Blue Dragon or something like that.
I love it.
But look, it could be totally something different. Like we had no idea Ninja Gaiden was happening, right? Ninja Gaiden 4,
yeah.
you know, they also helped, I guess, with the Ninja Gaiden Black, the 2, right? Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, whatever, remaster, and you know that went directly to Game Pass, and then you know you have Ninja Gaiden 4 being published by Xbox. It could be something totally different. It could be something in, you know, in that vein, or it could just be something they revive. Right? There's a bunch of older stuff, and you know, hey, let's take something that kind of worked before maybe, and like and give it another chance. So I was just thinking maybe it's one of those, but it could very well be something totally new. You know, something from well, we already have another Japanese game we kind of forget about, which is OD. We'll see how that comes out at some point. I don't know what that's going to look like, but,
and that's been confirmed that it's in development. That's another thing that came out. Oh no, they're at war with Kojima. He's basically confirmed that the game's still being worked.
It's still happening. So we have that. So I don't know what they're cooking up, but you know, this could be one of those games, right? It could also just be something totally cool that we don't know anything about. That's brand new. That would be awesome as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. You know, the Keeley show in Gamescom, right? He hosts, is it Gamescom Live? I think that's what it's called, something like that. So he has that show.
Opening Night Live, yes.
Opening Night Live, right? Yeah, and then he has another one with, of course, the Game Awards, right? Which is actually that's his whole thing, right? But so he's got 2 of those shows, and then you got Tokyo Game Show. There might be other little you know, directs that Xbox does, or anybody like PlayStation has a direct coming up on Ghost of Yotai. Looking forward to what that's going to look like. I hope it's a really good game. I really do. Really love Tsushima. I'm hoping this is good as well. So we'll get little things here and there, but and then Nintendo's due for something at some point. But yeah, this could be something you know, that they revive, or it could be just something new. And you know, they have been trying to like mix in some new announcements, bringing games, you know, that weren't on the platform from you know, Asian or Japanese you know, developers and publishers, to bring those over, right? So announce, hey, this is coming, right? Maybe bring things to Game Pass. You know, that could be another cool thing, right? So we'll see, right? There might be other games that they bring over from you know, things that have missed or skipped Xbox over the last you know, gen or two. You know, so that's kind of you know, what they usually do. They also recap you know, what's happening with the normal stuff they had in June, and what might be announced at Gamescom, etc., for the Asian audience that really tunes into TGS, right? So you know, we'll get a mix, but yeah, hopefully it'll be a you know, a more Asian focused. Though I have to say there were a lot of Asian games in the June showcase.
It was.
So
yeah.
it was pretty well distributed across you know, the world as far as gaming content from a developer perspective. So you know, we'll see how they go with that. You know, interestingly enough, I think we saw a lot more of that with the last State of Play as well, right? That they are focusing on Japanese and Asian content as well, which is good. That's pretty good, right? Just to see that shift. To kind of go, you know, back to not just having all Western games on their side. But yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll see what they do with it. It's been getting progressively better each year, though. Yeah. I want to say, was it last year that was a little bit of a dull one, but either way, like I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it. I'll watch it for what it is, and you know, if there's some new stuff, it's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they do with Gamescom. Maybe Starfield finally gets over to PlayStation. We'll see. But you know, we'll see what they do. Maybe that means the DLC is going to be announced for it. So yeah, it's always interesting stuff. Like the the year kind of starts out for us, at least on the Xbox side, with the Dev Direct, and then we just keep getting more and more and more as we get closer to June. It really kicks in, and then you just get like these, August you're going to get the Gamescom thing, September you're going to get TGS, and then you wait a couple of months, and usually during that time you're getting all the games, right? So during that September, October, November timeframe, you're getting all the games, and then in December we get the Game Awards. So it's usually a fun time, going in from about like maybe May, June-ish, all the way to the end of the year. You just keep getting more and more stuff. You get some negative stuff too, I'm just saying, but you get some positive, you get a lot of positive stuff as well. So we'll see what happens. We also have eventually we need to hear about this this new ROG Ally X Xbox thingy, right? So we need to get that announcement out and when we're going to be able to pick that thing up, so get to see more about this interface change. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know, that'll probably be Gamescom, I'm guessing, but I don't know. But it could be on TGS. Wouldn't that be an interesting place to actually showcase that? Because don't they like their portables?
They do.
Don't they like their smaller consoles?
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely do.
I mean, it'd be kind of. I'm sure it's got to be crossing their mind that might not be a bad place to, put it out there.
You could mix that with the release date for Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. Get the actual release date. That would be a good spot for that. From what we understand, Kojima is going to be there. Death Stranding's out. He doesn't have to show that anymore. What is he working on? Well, he's working on something else, but he's also working on OD and has been working with Jordan Peele for a while. And there's a bunch of, again, we don't know specifically, this was just my thought on it, that it's going to be an anthology, because when Jordan Peele and him came out during the Game Awards a couple of years ago, they said they're working with a Avengers level amount of directors. Now, I would imagine it's horror directors, and I really think that this ultimate tale that they're going to be telling, again, I don't know how many horror fans are in the chat here. I mean, Mrs. Boom and I love anthologies, especially when each director tells a character story and somehow it makes this one overall story. I think that's what he's going for. Again, that's just me spitballing. I think it's time for us to see it, and maybe that's where they show up in a big way also.
Yeah, I mean, it may be at TGS, it may be at Keeley's, just because
it's going to be either Keeley. I mean, the Keeley's is a really good pick because they're best friends. So yeah, that makes sense. So that could be it as well. But the Keeley's may not make sense for the Asian audience, and maybe that's what Xbox is looking for. So they might just say, hey, we're going to do it there. Or maybe even just say, here's a teaser. Tune in to the Game Awards for more. Yes.
Right. And, and that would be a great way to get both audiences, right? To sort of get into, hey, this is coming. But yeah, those are the kind of things I'd expect. I really do think they should show the hardware there, because it really resonates with the Asian audience, right? That they like portables. So I hope this is something they try to advertise there. It'd be kind of good. And see what they get from it, right? Hey, by the way, you can play all your Steam games, you can play all these. So if they can really make that resonate, hey, this is an all-in-one device. You can play all your Xbox stuff, you can play all your PlayStation stuff, you can play all your whatever, right? Your Steam games, your PC games. Take it with you, right? So, if they can make that work, that'd be kind of cool. Let's see what they do with it, right? And Asus is out there, right? They're in China, so or Taiwan. Sorry, I should be clear about that. They're in Taiwan. But they're right there. They're right there. So
it makes sense, brother.
They could come up and do something there. So let's see what they do.
It's going to be interesting, but I'm glad Xbox is going to be there in a big way. And I love the idea that they have something that could be shown off. Again, it's a rumor, folks, so just take it with a grain of salt. But supposedly they have something that they're going to show off that they have not shown yet. I don't know what it is, but I like what Hargeet's putting down. Keasante, I just brought it up. I have to say, because we're talking about canceled games. What if that game is scale-bound? No, I'm kidding. It's not going to be scale-bound. Even though I was very excited for scale-bound. I like the kid with the headphones riding the dragon. I was like, this is cool. But it's fine.
On his
it's fine.
Yeah.
2017 has come and gone. But look, again, let's get your thoughts on Tokyo Game Show. Do you think that they could show up in a big way? Because it's all eyes are going to be on this show, man.
Y'all, those who have heard me on this show year after year prognosticate about any of these international shows will hear that the record is about to repeat, because I say this every year. I need them to be coming with it in a big way wherever they show up.
Yeah,
they have too many studios, they have too many games, they have too many teams. Every showcase should be an opportunity to blow people's minds, right? They should make every single event that they say they will be at the event to want to be at as well, right? I'll be going to Gamescom this year, 2025. I can say that. I can officially announce it. I've been allowed, they're once again allowing GCP to go as press. So I'll be there representing GCP. I'll be there, hopefully getting some hands-on with some interesting stuff. I'm already starting to make some appointments in that, right? Everywhere they go, it should be the biggest event because they have too much to show, right? To what Hargeet was saying, I would be stunned if they don't show off the Ally Xbox or Xbox Ally at Gamescom. That'd be such a wasted opportunity. I
absolutely agree. I think that's
right. I mean,
it's the perfect
so
location.
Yes, so much so that it's a no freaking brainer. And if they don't do that, we should all grab the pitchforks and go, "What the heck, man? That's ridiculous." Right? This is that market loves portable handheld devices. It's a known thing. It's always known. And you guys have one in the market coming out in the market. That's the perfect place to show it off. I would be surprised. I would be, me personally, super surprised if I don't see any talk of that handheld at Gamescom. Why? Because again, you're in a place where you don't have the biggest footprint, right? You're in console territory, and that console is PlayStation, right? Chances are you will not be able to get them to buy an Xbox to the point where you don't want them to anymore. Now you're just putting your games everywhere. If you want them to take you seriously, hey, you have hardware. How about a handheld device, right? That could spur people to be interested in your stuff. Last year when I went, people were super interested in the likes of Forza Horizon and things like that. Gamers who, of course, in Europe are mainly PlayStation gamers. So many who had never even seen Forza before. And we're stunned at how good it was. And we're excited at the fact that they could maybe play it one day on their PlayStation, right? So there's a huge market out there, right? And the thing that actually excites me ultimately about this whole thing is they have been making very good inroads in this market, trying to make sure that they're no longer left out of position, right? And the one thing that I saw that has dogged them historically was, because in these locations, your console historically hasn't done very well, right? We know this. Everyone knows this. Your console doesn't do very well in these markets. So when you go to those markets and you try to make overtures to have people play your games, it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze for them from a financial perspective? How does that feel? You can't really do exclusives because you're basically asking them to make a game that their own countrymen won't play because more often than not, they don't have Xboxes, right? All that changes when you're now out on Front Street as a third party, put my games everywhere kind of person, right? All that's different now, right? It's a new world for them. They are no longer the don't go put your games on PlayStation. No, come put your games here. No, they are now we'll help you put your games on PlayStation. We'll help you put your games here. We'll help you put your games on the cloud. We'll help you build your game. So in that new paradigm, I am super excited to see what this company can pull off as far as, remasters, remakes, new collaborations. They can do a lot of interesting things because that market won't be quick to say no, because they always know now that their stuff can easily end up on PlayStation. They're not putting it in writers to say it's exclusive for X amount of time. They're not doing any of that stuff, right? So they're making the barrier of entry for those developers super low. I think it's awesome. So I look forward to seeing what they do. As far as games are concerned, I'm with Hargeet. The perfect plan would be to remaster, in a collection, possibly the Blue Dragon, or right, and then put it everywhere, including PlayStation. right? I would remaster, remake, and just put it everywhere, and as a celebration of some of those games, some of the efforts you made back in the past, and then maybe talk about something you'll do in the future. I think that would go over super well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Lost Odyssey, folks. I don't know how many people in the chat actually played that game. It's probably one of my all-time favorite JRPGs. It was, I think it was like 5 discs. If I don't 4 or 5 discs for the Xbox 360. I would love to see that game get the same kind of love and attention Final Fantasy VII got. If they remade that game, oh my God. And you know what? It wouldn't be an exclusive, and it doesn't have to be. But to go to Japan, to have this game that they've been working on. Now, mind you, what we didn't know about Ninja Gaiden is they were worked on that for years, Hargeet. Like,
I think it was like 7 years. Yeah, 7 years.
To get that done. Yeah, it was a long time. And they got Ninja Gaiden 2 Black done, which is a remake, done in Unreal Engine 5. Game is gorgeous. And 4, which looks, I mean, the more they show of it, the more I can't wait to play it. But yeah, I'm very excited for where Xbox is going to be, especially in the game. How many games they're going to continue to put out. Again, this year, by the end of the year, they're going to have put out 12 first-party games. That's insane. That isn't, and every one of those games were in Game Pass, which is even more insane. But look, at the end of the day, I think Xbox is still alive. They're going to be around. I thought it was very fair for the community, including everybody on this panel, to give them the righteous smoke for what happened last week. But like anything else, we have to move on. And the conversation has been had. And I thought as a creator of content and someone that really does love the community and the industry, it's a conversation that we needed to have, and I was happy to actually have that conversation. And now we're going to move on, and next couple of shows talking about why we're here, and that's playing games, folks. Ultimately, it's about playing games, and I can't wait to get back to Call of Duty and a bunch of other things that I'm playing. There was a new game that just dropped. I started it. Oh my God. I saw C Money talking about it. And it's an RPG, but it's like Kingdoms of Amalur. Does anyone remember that? I love that game. It's one of my favorite games. It just released, and something Strands.
Eternal Strands?
Yes. It just released on Game Pass, and it's so freaking good. I saw C Money talking about it. And I'm like, I didn't even know that dropped. Let me go. I downloaded it. I'm like, oh my God, it's like Kingdoms of Amalur. Oh my God, this game is so freaking good, and it's gorgeous.
Boom. Some of the devs that made that game are from ex-BioWare devs. I was lucky enough to get a preview and a review code for that. So cheap plug, check out the review on GCP. But yes,
definitely check that out.
It's indie focused. It's indie. I found it had some room to grow, but it has some solid ideas. It gives me vibes of a little Breath of the Wild in how they use the elements.
Yes.
The climbing and the elements, fire and ice, and how it traverses in the world. It's pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And also, like, what was the Capcom game that released that everyone liked? You have the pawns. What's the name of that game? It was before Monster Hunter.
You mean Dragon's Dogma 2?
Dragon's Dogma. Yes.
Dogma. Yeah.
It has elements of being able to climb on the bosses.
Yes, you can climb. Yes. That's the thing that we didn't mention. The main conceit of this game is, like, eventually you're fighting colossi, like huge building size colossi, and you're using the world and physics to beat them. Meaning, if they're hot colossi, you're using ice to break them down, to break down their shells, and you're climbing on their backs, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
You know what? People are saying that it came out in January.
It's been out for a minute.
It's been out for a
just saw it added. I guess I was looking through Game Pass and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, is that new? Let me download it." I didn't even know the game existed. So there you go.
This is the problem with Game Pass. Too many great games, man.
It's
every Tuesday it has the new drops. So I go to the Game Pass thing on the console. Whatever is new, Download.
Yeah.
So
That's a crazy thing. This game is fantastic. I didn't even know it came out. Like if people are like, oh, it's in January. Oh my god, you kidding me? So there you goes. That goes to show you. But listen, at the end of the day, I have too many games, not enough time to play it. But thank you so much for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you to all the super chats that popped in. We have another one that just popped in here. Do UK now, the Broke Boy Insider drops a very generous $2 super chat. Will, it's great to see you here, brother. He says Eternal Strands came to Game Pass in January. Well, that's new to me because I just saw it come across my list, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was out. Let me download it. I thought it was new. Well, there you go. So
new to you, sir. New to you. It's all good.
New to me. And I started playing it. I put about 2 hours in, and it is excellent. I'm very much enjoying it. Yes, it's an indie team, but I am enjoying that game. It is a lot of fun, and it definitely gives me. And again, if you were a fan of Kingdoms of Amalur, and I loved that freaking game, it does give me vibes of that. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I thought we had a very powerful opening, almost an hour on the opening salvo. And of course, back ending the conversation with the Tokyo Game Show, which I think is going to be big for a lot of companies. I'm really excited to see what Capcom brings. My hope and dreams for them. We know Resident Evil 9 is coming out. That's awesome. Can't wait for it. Whatever, right? Awesome. They tweeted about Dino Crisis on its anniversary, and for the love of Joe, if you're going to do a remake, it's Dino Crisis. I mean, they've done all Resident 2, Resident 3, Resident 4. Hopefully Code Veronica finds its way as a remake, or, Dino Crisis got to get done. They're doing Onimusha. A new Onimusha is coming out, a new Resident Evil. The trifecta, ladies and gentlemen. Any Dino Crisis fans in here? I mean, my God, that would be so cool. And that would be a pretty damn big announcement
too, right? That's them. I think that's
them,
right?
Yeah.
That looks like it's pretty cool too.
It looks very interesting. I cannot wait to play it. I'm gonna get that game day one. But Hargeet, let's sell your brand, brother. Obviously, you wrote a book. It's right there. It's called Emergence. People can reach out to you on not the average social media. They can reach you out on Discord, which of course is a place where you can find Hargeet. But he also has a YouTube channel that you find folks should be subscribed to. And please, by all means, take it away. Sell the brand. Where can people potentially buy your book? Strike up a conversation on Discord, and more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. My YouTube channel, HargeetChani1. If you want to subscribe, go for it. Shop.chani.us if you want to pick up my book. HChani on Discord. And I'm also on Keasante's Discord server. If you're there, you can see me there. So I hop in every now and then.
We have fun in there. So, yes, it was fun.
We talk. And I'll be on Friday with See Buddy a Doodle. A night shift, 8-ish, somewhere around there, PM, U.S. Eastern Time. We will not be doing the GTL's podcast because Fonz is moving. So Saturday we will be off. I'm also my nephew's birthday is being celebrated that day. It was on Monday, but we're celebrating it this Saturday. So we will not be doing that. It's probably not going to come back for a few weeks because he's in the middle of a move, and moves are pretty big deals, and they're moving from state to state. So it's going to be a lot of deconstruction, reconstruction of all the stuff. So we're probably not going to come back till August for that one. But I'll be on with Web Dave, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern on Sunday. Then we'll be back next week to find out who's saying Xbox is dead again.
Oh my God.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, hopefully that won't happen, because that's a boring topic. I'd like to, keep it, interesting and talk about video games. But if it does wreak its ugly head, I guess we'll cover it. But Keasante, let's have the brand, brother. Of course, we want to get some more information on your amazing Discord that continues to grow. You're obviously going to be going to Gamescom, and I'm so proud of you because you deserve to be there. And I can't wait to see the coverage, because last year's coverage was great. I would imagine this year's coverage is going to be even better. Now that you have your sea legs, so to speak, you're going to be the man of the town in Germany. but you also have a show happening this Saturday with Everborn called the Gaming Circle Podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people check out that show, check out your coverage, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here as they always tend to show up and have fun chats with us. I also want to say, because I haven't had a chance to say it these days, from now on, he will be known as Mr. Boomstick Nostradamus, first of his name, because you will put some respect on that man's name. I heard y'all talking in the chat about all the things you thought he didn't know. He's walking differently today. He's walking a completely different energy right now. And I need people to respect this man's name, because he's been in the trenches for too long, and y'all been making fun of him. And now y'all see he was right all along. Damn it, he was right all along. Anyway,
are you mentioning? Are you talking about Helldivers 2 that I was?
Oh,
podcast.
Keep it moving, sir. Yes, I see the pimp hat off view, sir. You can put it on your head. It's okay.
Put it onto the side.
It's all right. Anyway, this is for those of y'all who want to disrespect the man and not believe him next time. I'm just saying. I'm putting that out there. Anyway, we will be having the Gaming Circle podcast this weekend. 10 a.m. There you go. There you go. There you go. He's do that thing. That's right. Don't let anybody disrespect that man again. That's all I'm saying. But yes, we'll be doing it on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lots of fun discussions, gaming and the like. As I said, I'm preparing for Gamescom, so there's some exciting stuff, some stuff that I've already started like getting access to and stuff. So I'm expecting to have some really good coverage this time around.
Yes,
I appreciate all the folks that come and check it out. Yeah, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for always checking this out. K Asante, TK Asante on all those places. Gaming Circle podcast is on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you, of course, for being here. And you and Hargeet, I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else. And again, we get to hang out. And again, it's I like these smaller, panels, because again, we really get a chance to dig our heels into a particular conversation. And I like the smaller shows. Again, it's 90 minutes. If you missed it live, folks, you can catch it on the replay. The article that I used in the conversation from Windows Central is there. So if you want to read the article yourself, you can go and click on that and check it out. And of course, I am going to wind up breaking these down into smaller, more bite-sized videos for the working class folks that don't have, 2 hours of their day to spend listening to podcasts. And a lot of people have really enjoyed that new format that we're doing here at Double Barrel Gaming. And we definitely appreciate people checking out the show. And of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that the channel continues to get. Folks, the third week of July, we're doing our annual Christmas in July event. We do it every year. There are going to be a total of 10 physical prizes, 2 grand prizes and 8 other prizes. And the draw for these prize packs are going to be coins that were given to me that are handmade, and they're designed by Ben Kenobi. Each prize pack is going to have 3 coins. They may contain Call of Duty, Doom, Avowed. Every one of the prize packs is going to have the Outer Worlds 2 coin that was very limited. That was only at the Xbox Fan Fest event. That was the Community Fan Fest event.
Hey, there
you go. So yes, I have a bunch of Doom coins. The Doom coins are his best work ever. The Avowed ones are just as good. So yes, folks, if you're outside of the Americas, we will try and get you that prize pack. We have to see how much the shipping is going to be. Each one of the prize packs are gonna have a minimum $25 Xbox gift card plus all the coins and everything else that's in there. We're still, Mrs. Boom and I are trying to still sort out the details for the 2 grand prize packs, but they're going to have the same thing, just a little bit more. So we'll get into that, and we'll have more information as we get closer to the week of the 23rd, whatever that, I believe that's the 3rd weekend we're going to do. And we do it then anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation enough to hit the like button. And if you are not already subscribed, well, we're on the hunt, ladies and gentlemen, for 17K. And you can help us get there by simply just subscribing to the channel. And of course, I'm going to close out tonight's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.